All right, so the next thing that we are going to go over is overhead press. Now there's a couple different variations of this. For the most part, we are going to go over a strict press, which means that you're not using your legs at all. But at the end, we'll actually show you how to do a push press as well and what that is actually an advantage for. So for the overhead press, what we're gonna do, go ahead and face sideways. We are gonna put the bar basically almost on your chest. We're gonna put it in this like front rack position, if you've ever done a front rack squat before, where our forearms are stacked and our elbows are slightly forward. We do want those hands to be about shoulder width apart. Go ahead and move them a little bit closer together. Perfect, right there. And then go ahead and with the wrists themselves, we wanna actually have them stacked. We wanna make sure that we're not too far back. That does end up putting a lot of tension on the wrist. So we want them to be stacked for the most part, where it's kind of sitting on that meaty part of your hand, right? Elbows forward a little bit more. Yep, perfect. So see how that elbow drive actually helps him here. So if you happen to be tight in the lats and you're not getting a good elbow drive, there's a couple of things that you can do. One, you can actually foam roll your lats, so putting it underneath the armpit. And then two, if I can steal that for a second, there's a stretch where you can actually go ahead and put your elbows back up. If you put the, in this front rack position, perfect. So if you put this bar like on the actual rack itself, you can stack your elbows on top of it and then push your top body down like you're gonna stretch out your shoulders. Yep, go ahead and relax your arms up. Yep, so we're working to get those elbows nice and open, kind of pushing the head down. This is a really great way to be able to stretch that out too. Awesome. Go ahead and put that back in the front rack position. So that's just in case you happen to have a little bit of limited mobility here, which is actually super duper common. So when it comes to the overhead press, one of the things is gonna be, because it's so close to your chest, it's gonna feel like your face is in the way, right? So I like to call it the chicken head, where you're actually going to pull your chin back, so give me a nice little chin tuck, and then push your chin forward so they can see the difference. So we're pushing our chin back as we're driving the bar up to the ceiling. So we're extending that up past, and then you can actually push your head back through. It doesn't have to be forward necessarily, but back to neutral. Go ahead and stack it a little bit more on top of yourself. Awesome. And then in this top position, a lot of people will actually accidentally lean back, where we lose tension in this core. We wanna make sure that we're keeping that rib cage closed again, and then we're keeping that brace perfect right here. Now you'll notice his arms are a little bit in front of him. This is typically a shoulder mobility issue. As you start to get more comfy, you can stack it more on top of yourself. That way it's not too far forward. That's gonna make it a little bit more comfortable over time. So we wanna try and stack it as much on top of the rest of your body as you can. This is something that'll simulate like an extension or anything like that, and it'll help with a lot of the strength if you're doing like QPs and stuff like that too. So we're extending all the way up through the arms. We're keeping that core nice and tight. The hips are already engaged, and then we're just gonna lower it, control, chin tuck back. Keep that elbow nice and close, and then relax the head. So we're taking that tension out of the shoulders, keeping those elbows stacked. Let's go ahead and do a couple more. Pressing up, get the head out of the way. Good. Make sure to do that chicken head on that. And then pull the chin back as you go down, and then relax the head forward. Yep, there we go. Go ahead and do it again. Oh, see how the bar moved? Yep, try to move your head, not the bar. Keep the bar straight up and down. Generally speaking, our goal is to have the bar be in as straight of a path as possible. We want it to go straight up and down. So you want to move your head out of the way instead of moving the bar. Go ahead and do it again. Chin out of the way, straight up. There we go. And then chin out of the way when you're coming back down. There we go. Awesome. Good. Relaxing here. Trying to take tension out of the shoulders. And again, keeping that tension up into the elbows. Cool. So this one's pretty straightforward. We'll go ahead and show you with the actual barbell next, so you can see. Same basic idea. Go ahead and grab that barbell. Now chances are we might have to, let's try and extend your arms. We'll see if we hit that. Okay, so elbows are forward. We're stacked there. We're getting the chin out of the way, keeping that core tight. Go ahead and extend it up with that chin back, and then head relaxed. Good. Now, we want to make sure we're not pushing too far forward, right? See how his chest kind of came forward too? Keeping this rib cage closed, keeping the abs engaged. Go ahead and bring it back down. Get your head out of the way right when you're about to pass. Good. Awesome. Let's try a couple more. Head out of the way there, and then through. Good. And then head out of the way on the way down. There we go. Awesome. Good. Keep that rib cage closed. Good. So that's one of the biggest and most important parts. We want to make sure that abs are always engaged. Otherwise, your back is going to take a lot of that, right? So we want to make sure that we're extending all the way through, but that we're keeping that rib cage closed. So go ahead and while we're here, can you flare your rib cage for us so we can see that? So see that rib cage nice and flared? That's what we want to try to avoid. So we're going to keep this closed. We're going to engage those upper abs. We're going to keep that nice and tight. Cool? All right, so that's the basics when it comes to an overhead press. All right, so we already covered a little bit of the mistakes that typically happen in an overhead press, but we're gonna go ahead and call them out here to make them super obvious. So let's go ahead and put that in that front rack position again. So one of the most common ones is gonna be that back arch that we talked about. As people are extending their arms up, they actually end up leaning back, either with their trying to get their shoulders open, or their arms will be out in front of them, but they're leaning back with their chest, almost looking at the bar, right? So we do want to try to make sure that we're stacked as much as possible with that arm right above your head, as long as that mobility allows. So that's one of the biggest things, to make sure that we're engaging our core and that our low back is not taking it, right? So that's going to be the first one. The next piece is that bar coming around your face instead. So let's go from that front rack position. So if people are not moving their head out of the way, you don't want to hit your face, right? So a lot of people will end up pulling the bar away from them and then swooping it around. This is super inefficient. So we want to make sure that we're moving the head instead, not the bar. Go ahead and do a couple of those with the head moving instead. And that way the bar can keep its bar path straight up and down. Good. Yep, that one went around just a little bit. So try and go straight up, straight down. Straight up from here. Boom. Yeah, there we go. Awesome. So that's the one. One of the ways that you can do this is actually you record yourself from the side. Go ahead and relax. That way you can actually see where your bar path is. There's some really cool apps too where you can actually draw a line if you want to get fancy with it, but honestly, most of the time you can tell if the bar path is good or not. So those are going to be the two major ones that we see a lot in the overhead press. So next I'm going to show you some alternatives and some drills that you can do. So if we end up having that issue where we're kind of working around your head or we're not maintaining our line, this is one of my favorite ones. He's going to go into front rack position again, but this time he's going to face the squat rack and actually put the PVC pipe, you can do this with bar as well, right up against the squat rack. So he's going to do an overhead press. He's going to move his head out of the way, everything that we've been doing before, but this time the bar is going to slide on the squat rack. And that way we 100% know that it's in the right position, right? Because there's literally no way that it can't be if it's against that squat rack. So go ahead and do a couple of reps like that. And we're sliding, making sure that it's in line. Beautiful. Awesome, I will take that. Awesome. And then the next thing that we're going to do, just like we've done with a lot of the other ones, we're going to use dumbbells instead. Again, a little bit more forgiveness in terms of your shoulder position. If you have any weird injuries in the shoulder or anything like that, we want to make sure that we are respecting those. And so sometimes you can make some variations that feel a little bit better. So we're going to go ahead and do it with dumbbells next. Same basic idea here, front rack position, core is engaged, we're pressing up. And then this way you can do a couple different variations. You can have them stacked like this, nice 45, or you can practice where it's gonna be if it's in the bar. I like a nice 45 or forward-ish, but literally whatever feels good to you is totally okay. It just makes a small variation. So go ahead and do a couple. And now this way, you don't even have to worry about your head, right? It's on either side of your head. You can keep everything in line, just less things to think about. So this is a really good option for somebody that's starting off and maybe isn't 100% comfortable with the bar yet. And then the next piece that we're going to introduce is one more drill, or a variation technically, is going to be the push press. So the biggest difference between strict press and push press is strict press, no legs. Push press, you're going to use your legs. So what we're going to do is like a teeny baby squat. Think like a little quarter squat maybe. When we're doing this, we want to make sure that we're pushing our hips back, knees forward, so that both of them are going that direction. And then we're actually going to use our legs to help support the push with the arms. So explode everything, arms and legs, boom. And then as you're bringing it down, control, load it back up, knees and arms bent, boom, right? So this is super duper helpful if you are maybe pushing a new weight, something that's a little bit more uncomfortable, a little bit tough to do with a strict press. And one way that we can use this is that we can start to use it in a way to progress to weight. Hey, I think I'm ready for the next weight, but I'm not 100% sure that I can do a strict press with it. So I'm going to do a push press and have that help me go into the next weight, or I'll do as many strict presses as I can and then go ahead and add the push presses at the end when I feel like I'm starting to lose form. But again, we want to make sure that we're always stopping before we feel like anything is off. But that's a really great option, is going to be to do that push press instead, or have that be another variation.